it's James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade. Welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my content, and welcome back to Suzerain. So this will be episode 2 of this Let's Play, and we will, well, jump right back in. What is this here? We've got a report. Nature Preservation March. The Nature Preservation Foundation in Lorraine has organized a march promoting ecological practices and nature preservation. The event witnessed significant participation, demonstrating the local community's commitment to environmental issues. This peaceful demonstration has successfully raised awareness about Lorraine's unique biodiversity and environmental challenges. Local authorities have noted the event and the message conveyed by the foundation. Okay, our hometown of Dare here. Increasing homelessness. The region of Bergia is among the worst hit regions in Swordland, where homelessness has skyrocketed since the economic recession. The number of homeless in the city of Dare is more likely to have increased by 25% in the last year. The rise was particularly stark among Bloodish people, where homelessness increased by 72% in just 6 years. It is reported that homelessness among ethnic minorities has reached their highest level in more than a decade. The Bloodish minority of the region now account for up to 47% of all homeless people there. The Swordish Grid Corporation field research team has announced new gas field discoveries in Narbel. These discoveries could enhance the city's energy supply and play a significant role in the broader energy landscape of Swordland's. Preliminary analysis of the yield and quality of these fields is currently underway. The corporation will soon release a comprehensive report outlining extraction feasibility. The economic implications of these findings, particularly regarding potential growth and job creation in the region, are noteworthy. Okay, any other reports I'm missing? What do we got here? Oh, we got 2 reports here. A fire broke out in the academic administration building of the Holsword State University. The initial report from the chief of police in Holsword indicates a near to complete destruction of employee records from 1890 until now, along with original copies of internationally recognized academic research destroyed. The extent of the damage is worse than expected. Public opinion report. People's views on the need for democratic reform in the government structure has changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, Franz Richter, have resulted in a massive increase in the demand for democratic reforms. It is estimated that currently 55% of the population support the reformist ideas. Boy, these reports just keep coming. Okay, General Staff gathers. The General Staff convened right after the election to congratulate our victory. All branches of the Swordish Armed Forces were represented in the meeting that took place at Camp Strongarm with massive security measures. The Chief of the Armed Forces, Malcolm Kruger, made a public press statement highlighting the increasing chances of military confrontation in eastern Mokopa and requested support to strengthen the military. GNA prepares Tourism Act. The Grand National Assembly in Holsword is readying the Swordland Tourism and Preservation Act. This act aims to enhance the cultural and tourism appeal of several cities, including Warren, Rubery, Lochevin, Anrika, and Benfi, in a collective push to make Swordland a global tourist destination. Warren, Rubery, Lochevin, Anrika, and Benfi. Okay, so they're kind of spread all over the place. Briefing on the current economic situation. Actually, let's look at the news. The Holsword Post. Fire strikes Holsword State University Archive. We kind of read about that. A committee for reform. Speaker Gloria Torrey said that a committee, which includes all three political parties of the Assembly, has been formed for preparation of potential change in the Constitution. The committee has been asked to submit a comprehensive report. Okay. What's the economist talking about? Alfonso abandons Lothar-Berg's exclusive conclave. In a stunning development, former president and current chairman of GASAM, Ewald Alfonso, has announced his departure from the exclusive Lothar-Berg group. His decision has been fueled by growing disillusionment with the interests of the secret organization. Alfonso has been quoted saying he's intent on charting his own course away from Lothar-Berg. However, this abrupt exit from the group only a few months after his defeat in '53 election marks another political setback for the man who led Swordland into the deepest recession back in 1951. Swordish National League starts season. As the Swordish National League prepares to kick off its 1954-55 season, the excitement and anticipation surrounding the league is greater than ever. Football, once a minor pastime in Swordland, has steadily grown in popularity over the past decade, with the National League emerging as the premier platform for the country's top teams to showcase their skills and compete for the coveted championship title. FC Gelsword's last season's champion, return with a core of experienced veterans, including star striker Hakan Brenner, who holds the top scorer title of the league since 1952. Meanwhile, FC Anrika has managed to add several new players to their lineup after new investments coming to the club, and is looking to bounce back after a disappointing season and reclaiming their spot as contender for the championship. While it's impossible to predict whether FC Gelsword will finally be bested this season, one thing is certain. The Swordish National League is slowly cementing itself as a force in the world of football, and the 1954-55 season is sure to be a testament to the supporting growing prestige and popularity. Support in Assembly grows for campaign finance bill. A bill to change the criteria for the allocation of public funds to political parties is proposed by Representative Albin Clavin from the USP. The bill aims to change the criteria from the proportion of votes won in the general election to the proportion of seats won by a political party in the Grand National Assembly. This would result in an increase of about 28 million SR to the governing United Swordland Party, which will benefit the most from the proposed bill. The new bill would give political parties an annual amount of 500,000 SR per member of Assembly. That's a lot of money. We don't need to be giving our money out to political parties. I don't quite agree with that. Alright, the Radical. Unearthed the ISM incident. Decades after the infamous ISM incident, new unconfirmed information emerges that challenges the official state narrative as per anonymous former Black Battalion sources. The incident was not an act of foreign aggression to destabilize Swordland, but a government conspiracy to gain influence. Materials related to members of the Old Guard faction revealed startling information about the involvement of high-ranking government officials in the incident, some of which are in powerful positions to this day. Our paper won't be disclosing the details due to potential safety reasons. The fresh perspective on the bloody incident of 1933 necessitates a reassessment of Swordish history, promising to reshape our understanding of the Bloodish movement. Another thing I'm not quite sure about. Okay. Geopolitical. Rumberg coming south? Our foreign policy analysts, who are reviewing the recent aggressive military and diplomatic developments of Rumsburg, have come to the conclusion that it's highly likely that Rumsburg will keep trying to push further south, threatening the territories of Swordland, Wayland, and possibly Agnolia. The annexation of Dome many decades ago was just the beginning. Rumsburg seems to be on a quest to secure all strategic resources in East Mercopa. Rizia firmly refutes Pale's retort in Aureus gas field dispute. In a recent twist to the Aureus offshore gas field saga, the Kingdom of Rizia has strongly refuted the Grand Duchy of Pale's counterclaim. The development escalates last year's surprise move by Rizia, which asserted ownership based on historical records and long-standing Andor maritime agreements. The claim had initially put significant pressure on Pales and caused notable fluctuations in the Mercopian energy market. The Grand Duchy of Pales, countering Rizia's assertion, had presented their own historical evidence and legal agreements to justify their exploitation rights. This counterclaim added fuel to the already intense dispute, drawing keen attention from across Mercopa and prompting offers of international mediation to prevent further escalation. Despite the ongoing diplomatic efforts, the deadlock continues to unsettle the region's energy sector. Energy companies across Mercopa express growing concerns about operational disruptions and potential impacts on the region's energy supply. The persistence of this dispute threatens not only immediate economic interests, but the long-term stability of energy markets. That sounds rather important. Okay, before I go into that, I want to... How do I go to the big map? It'll take me to the big map sometimes. What is this? Codex journal connection. I wanted to look at those countries we were just talking about on the big map, but it's not taking me there. Oh, here we are. There we go. Okay, Grand Duchy of Pales. This little thing next to the Kingdom of Rizia. Probably fighting about something in this little bay that's between them, I'm guessing. What's this? Oh, that's just this. Okay, time for the economic briefing. Simon Hall, Gus Manger, and Lilius Groff were about to arrive at the White Room for our scheduled economic meeting. This was the room in the Maroon Palace where all important meetings were held. Two assistants arrived first, carrying a heavy projector. They stood with it by their door, waiting for the minister to enter. From the hallway, I heard Lilius Groff's voice. That's this lady. She was using the patient, almost motherly tone she often took in heated arguments. She's horrible. She's a total communist. Anyway, let's continue. Gus, do you really think that such an economically advanced area is more in need of investment than England? Lilius, my interior minister, strode in. She was clad in shades of brown and beige, the only spot of color bright yellow Dasnerist cross on her necklace. Gus followed close behind. Don't be an idiot, Lilius. What about the unemployment crisis the Greater Holsword and Gesslin regions are going through? These areas are our economic heartland. Gus curled his hands into a fist. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development temper hadn't changed since his days in the Alfonso administration, but neither had his reputation for getting things done. His far-reaching network of connections was unlike any other. Simon Hole quickly stepped between the two ministers. Without looking at either of them, he cleared his throat. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'm very well and motivated, Mr. Rain. It seems our ministers are feeling the same. Just as expected. How's it going, Gus and Lilius? I can clearly see that. What was the discussion about? We were having a discussion about the infrastructure plans. If I may, I would like to talk to you about the... Simon interrupted. We will get there, Gus. No rush. First, I would like to conduct my economy presentation. Okay, let's begin. Simon pulled a silk handkerchief out of his pocket and briefly wiped his glasses. My staff and I have comprehensively analyzed every aspect of... He was interrupted by a groan from one of the assistants by the door, both of whom were now visibly struggling to hold up the heavy projector. Oh, you can put that there. He pointed below the painting of the President's soul. The assistants placed the projector next to the table and installed a white screen on the wall. Leave now. I mean, thank you, and please leave now. The assistants left the cabinet room. I was reminded that Simon had never quite had a way with people, but his facility with numbers had made him the most sought-after economic specialist in Swordland. Simon started looking for his slides. He always carried documents around with him. Oh, wait. Lilius leaned to the table and spoke. Simon, what happened to the new police station construction in Estord? While going through his briefcase, he paused for a moment to answer. It got stalled due to government property boundary issues. I've been meaning to look at it. I can take a look at that one. Estord needs all the security help it can get. Sure, more time for me to spend on analysis. His eyes glittered when he finally found the slides you were looking for. There have been some developments about the Swordish Wren losing further value today. We've been trying to stabilize it with the central bank. The recession of '51 put enormous pressure on the economy, resulting in the collapse of the value of our currency. The entire situation was a significant cause of concern for our administration. What would you like to know about the current economic situation? What is our unemployment and inflation rate? Unemployment has skyrocketed and is now at a staggering 16%, and the inflation is at a relatively high at 10%. Unemployment is increasing crime and drug use. We need to get people off the streets. The inflation isn't helping our average citizen either. What is our GDP and debt situation? Current GDP is 310 billion Swordish Wren, and the national debt is 427 billion. So Gross domestic product. That's basically what a country makes over the course of a year. So in this situation, it would take about 2 years if everything the country made was put into paying off the debt. The US has it far worse. Pretty much the interest on our debt is more than we can afford at this point, let alone paying off the debt. It's still hard to fathom that we lost nearly 150 billion in wealth. The past 3 years were tough. What is the status of the recession? What's the status of the recession? The economy has been in recession, about -6% in the past year. The average GDP has dropped from 15,454 per capita to 10,359 from 1951 to now. So the average citizen has lost about $5,000. Curiously, that's kind of what the average citizen has lost in the Biden administration. This administration's success depends on our ability to stop the recession. The sooner we can reach GDP growth, the better. Okay, I have all the information I need. Let's move on to the economic strategy. Simon scattered the paper stack in front of him in an orderly manner and took a final look at his notes before clearing his throat. As you can see, the situation is alarming, but not everything is negative. The extensive privatization program of Alfonso and key foreign direct investment left us a large budget surplus, which we can use to stabilize the crisis. Basically, we have 8 government budget, and that's thanks to this. The primary subject we need to settle on is what general path we will take in our term. Solonomics-based nationalization happened in the 30s, and Alfonso's privatization began in the 40s. What will our administration focus on? One of our main promises was to promote free market economy to stop the recession. To be frank, I believe it is the only way out of the recession. I still do not support it. Why promote the private sector when we have qualified state-owned enterprises? Go away, communist lady. Because the lack of competition has made them inefficient. Simon nodded. What are the consequences of the more of the economy we control, the better we can manage the recession? What are the downsides of the planned economy? Humanity in the 20th century is thriving because of the rule of supply and demand. Agreed. Look at how quickly Lesbia and Arcadia have increased their prosperity by embracing these basic principles. Swordland has the potential to do as well. Why don't we take our potential seriously? Integrating heavily in a market economy would work if we had extensive means of production. Our industry is lacking. The structural problem of Solonomics were going to lead to a recession according to the predictions at the time anyway. Either way, even if we pick one of the doctrines, we retain the option to make economic choice on a case-by-case basis. That is, however, not recommended in my point of view. The last thing we need is a chaotic economic plan. Finally, something we can both agree on. There's another important point which has a direct impact on our economy: superpowers. We might have won the election, but I'm still against aligning ourselves with any superpowers. Economically speaking, we are much closer to Arcadia than the United Catana, so a decision to align to the west makes more sense. We must be very cautious. There are schemes being devised about Swordland. We cannot give in to their wants, now or in the future. Otherwise, our country will turn into a pawn. I want you to reconsider your promise to align with Arcadia. I've made a promise to the people of Swordland. I won't back down. Exactly. We have made a promise. People want to trust their president. What kind of an example would we set for the future generations if we were to back down on our promises? Also, in my opinion, aligning with a powerful country like Arcasia was an excellent decision. I know you have campaigned for this in the party a long time, Gus. Mr. President, this is exactly what being controlled looks like, voluntarily or involuntarily. Gus eyed Lilius with distrust, but didn't say anything. When the time comes, I hope you will make the right decision for our own good. We should attract more foreign direct investment, Mr. President. We saved the country from a full-on depression in 1952 and 53 by signing lucrative trade deals with nations such as Rizia, Lesbia, and Pinel. Simon cleared his throat again. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Minister. Whiskey will be in charge of the informing you on those types of foreign policy decisions. We must first decide on our internal economic plan. Simon put forward a legal document outlining possibilities with both economic doctrines listed. The cabinet members looked at me. We have to thank Sol and his planned economy for the boom. It clearly shows the success of the system. Let's finish what Alfonso started with the capitalist free market reforms. His path was going to enrich Swordland. What's on our long-term economic schedule? Would a free market focus bring us stronger allies? What's on our long-term economic schedule? Picking a construction company, trade relations, tax reform, and privatization initiatives would be some of them. Sticking to a solid planned economy strategy would be the right call. The 5-year plans were fruitful in the past. Would a free market focus bring us stronger allies? It would make Arcadia look at our country in a more positive light. They are proponents of free market economy. The influence Arcadia has on the world economy is extensive. Our economy strategy should be based on internal reasoning, though. Let's finish what Alfonso started with the capitalist free market reforms. His past was going to enrich Swordland. The recession was the direct result of his free market reforms. History must note that the reason for the recession was because Uld Alfonso was betrayed by his party. That is not true. There was plenty of time for him to do it. If you can't make change happen in 2 years, then you're at fault. What are your final thoughts, Mr. President? A market economy doesn't require as much guidance and could help us attract foreign capital. Especially from Arcadia, President Walker is always interested in expanding the economic zone of Ep.2. We could secure lucrative investments from capitalist countries. So what will our general economic plan promote? It'll promote a free market economy, as we promised. I can't say that I agree with this. I don't know why I hired you. Why are you here, lady? Get out of my office. Lilius looked displeased. Now that there is clarity on which direction we are heading, I will work on a good plan accordingly. This concludes our meeting. At our next gathering, we will talk about the upcoming infrastructure investment plan. Now that the economic direction was taken, the ministers dispersed for lunch at the Maroon Palace. That's essentially a turn. So now we have new reports to read. Booming wine demand in Bourne. In Bourne, there has been significant surge in demand for local wines. The sudden increase has led to a busy season for vineyards and wineries across the region. The cause of this rise in demand comes from international interest, and it is certainly driving economic activity in the city. Wineries are ramping up production to meet the increased demand. A continued trend could further stimulate the region's economy. Well, that's good news. Alright, what's going on here? Increasing unemployment. The number of people filing for unemployment in Morna continues to rise as the recession continues. The change in economic conditions is historic and stunning in its speed, said the mayor of Morna. In the aftermath of the crisis of 1951, the unemployment rate in Morna rose to 9% in the following year. The last 6 months have almost erased all gains in employment over the last 2 decades. Promising agricultural growth. For the first time in 3 years, the agricultural output of Sarna has increased. Many experts link the increased output to both a drop in temperatures and new farming practices that have been adopted in recent years. Additionally, farmers are now accessing more generous credit allowances from the government that were left over from the Alfonso administration. The Ministry of Agriculture reports that the region's agricultural industry has the potential to become a powerhouse in the future if investments persist. Excellent. A little more good news. The recession led to a reduction in rail assets, with more than a fifth of the railway network, itself antiquated, being mothballed in the recent years. While the main line of the railway networks are currently in service, increasing demand in goods from Gelsord to the capital is pushing the network to its limits. The rail signaling system in the region dates from the middle of the last century and is also in need of improvement. Okay, Lokoven. The Gassam Sea rig off the coast of Lokoven has paused oil extraction operations for essential maintenance. The rig has been a significant contributor to Lokoven's oil output, and its temporary shutdown could impact the city's production levels. The maintenance timeline remains uncertain. The local government is monitoring the situation and making arrangements to ensure minimal disruption in the city's oil supply. Until then, normal operations remain suspended. Gassam, that's the company that the former president pretty much owns. The recent collapse of the tourism industry in Lenkerg has led to a reduction in trade traffic and road maintenance. The road network is currently in service but is in need of substantial improvements. Ports, country roads, and bridges similarly suffer from a lack of investment. Firms doing business in Lenkerg report a significant shortage of warehousing facilities, particularly refrigerated facilities, with an implication both for the transportation system and the ability to serve the population's basic food and health needs. Agland here seems to be having an issue with being able to transport stuff. It sounds like they'd have better industry, or more industry, if they had a better transportation system going on. Meeting at the Media Strategy Office. Or actually, let's read the news first. Tourism, a beacon of hope for Swordland. The Swordland Tourism and Cultural Preservation Act, currently under deliberation in the Grand National Assembly, is a shining beacon of hope aimed at enhancing the tourism appeal. Bourne, Ribery, Lokoven, Enrica, and Benfi. The Act promises to position Swordland as a global tourist destination. As the nation grapples with economic hardship, the bill's potential to boost tourism and cultural preservation efforts provides a much-needed silver lining. Swordland today, fueling Swordland's tomorrow. Unfazed by recent political developments, Gassam is set to bolster Swordland's infrastructure and support its ongoing development efforts. As one of Swordland's largest corporations, Gassam's financial aid, logistics support, and equipment aid are crucial to Swordland's economic resurgence. The support provided by the corporation, whose roots are intertwined with, exemplifies the corporation's dedication to Swordland's prosperity. This advertisement was sponsored by Alfonso's Foundation. Economy meeting held in Hornsland. Right. What's the economics thing? Armadine Industries pioneering electronics. A new prototype for the first pocket radio was displayed by the Arcasian electronics company, Armadine Industries, in Ventry City. After 6 years of research and engineering behind the pocket transistor radio have revealed the materials. Yeah, it doesn't sound very important. Freezing temperature records, the meteor. Okay, weather. Alfonso ditches Lotharberg, a sign of discord. We're familiar with that. Nationalist violence. A man in the 20s has been beaten with a baseball bat in a paramilitary-style attack in Avery. The man claims to have been attacked because of his ethnic background as an Agno-Swordish citizen. He was approached during a walk in the park by a group of right-wing extremists who are suspected of being regulars at the local Nationalist Front office. The group inflicted injuries to his legs and arms. The man was brought to the hospital. Yeah. Okay, let's jump into this strategy meeting. Lucian and Peter arrive at my office to talk about recent developments and the media strategy. They both took their seat across from me. Lucian put on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Peter turned to Lucian and nodded. Greetings, gentlemen. I've just received further information from the interior about the sudden fire and broke out at the Whole Sword State University archives nearby. Tell me more. The initial report from the Whole Sword Police Chief indicates a potential arson case. In accordance with protocol, the Swordish Intelligence Directorate has been called. Is the SID really necessary for this? Why would anyone hit the archives of a university in the first place? I see no logical motive there. It seems like the chief suspects foreign sabotage. They informed us that a large section of the archives have been destroyed. It included tens of thousands of globally recognized research documents, and original by the great thinkers of our people. It's a shame so much knowledge was lost. Luckily, most originals have copies in the other universities and some international libraries. The first edition of my favorite book, The Geopolitics of Swordland by Herman Equa, was destroyed too. Maybe it was just a freak accident. We do have the copies of most important works, so no single fire can eradicate our knowledge. I see no point in destroying employee records either. More importantly, Lucian mentioned that Marcel Caranti contacted him. The Carantis had always been known as one of the richest and most influential families in Swordland, and he was no exception. He was the oldest son of Conrad Caranti, the industrialist and media mogul who founded HOS, the richest man in the entirety of Swordland. Lucian turned to me. He has offered to meet with you, Mr. President. What does he want? After the passing of his father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. He mentioned a productive collaboration. They are a powerful and influential media conglomerate. To start with, they own the Swordland Today newspaper, the Swordish Broadcasting Company, and the media. Which means it would be wise to have them on our side. Sorry for interrupting. What does this productive collaboration entail? He did not wish to explain the details over the phone, but rather in person. I will be receiving a call from him sometime soon. However, as Peter said, they have substantial power over the content of media outlets, headlines, radio shows. That is what he would be offering. What he wants in return is what we need to understand. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to media. I'm no media expert, but Lucien made some very interesting arguments at the preparation meeting yesterday. There are two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it, which has clear advantages. The other one is keeping it independent. The media must be independent. Ideally, yes, but an unpopular leader will not be able to pass even the easiest reforms. It is of utmost importance to maintain public popularity and avoid any damaging scandals and mistakes. I must stress one thing, Mr. President. The two people we have supporting our agenda, the more we can accomplish with someone on our side in an influential media organization, we can do this very easily. Two wrongs don't make a right. Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to forget what happened to President Alfonso last year. Things got even worse after his cabinet resigned and the media started to slander him, but that was also a result of his own incompetence. 2 knocks were heard on the door. Who is it? It's Olivia, Mr. President. My new secretary entered the office. Her dark curls bounced as she crossed the room to my desk. She spoke with a slight lilt in her voice. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Galad's secretary has been calling me and wanted me to relay a message. That's this guy. Marcel Carante, the new CEO for HOS Conglomerate, is on the line for Mr. Galad. Well, the ball is in our court. Would you like to talk to him, sir, or would you like me to? I'll talk to him. Connect the line to my office. Right away, sir. Connecting the call to line 1. Lilia left the room and the phone started ringing. I picked it up. The President speaking. It's an honor, Mr. President. I know your time is valuable, so I will not waste any of it. I was just elected CEO of HOS. My strategy in the running of this conglomerate will be different than my father's approach. This is why I'm offering a partnership deal regarding our media branch. I would like to formally invite you to my resort near Conriat for a meeting to discuss the details. What does that entail? Our future as partners, Mr. President. Surely we can't talk about the details on the phone. I just wish to have a face-to-face conversation with you. I will send you the details through my secretary if you are interested. Okay. This guy's fairly important. Actually, really important. Really powerful. I don't necessarily want to refuse him over the telephone. At the same time, I would like to stay independent of the media. So I want to see if there's a path that allows me to meet with him, but yet still refuse him. I think it's a more dignified way of basically saying, look, I understand you're powerful. I understand your intentions, but at the same time, I respect your power and your intentions, but I would like to keep the media separate. And maybe you won't slander me because of that. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for your offer. I would be interested in a meeting. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Well then, I'll let you return to your packed schedule. See you later, Mr. President. See you later, Mr. Crowny. I hung up the phone. I'll set things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting next month. It's settled then. Look forward to next month. I wonder if he has a pool. Lucian looked at his watch. It appears we're done for today. We will continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time. See you soon, gentlemen. Lucy and Peter gathered their documents and promptly left my office. We were already getting the attention of key figures and potentially dangerous ones. Balgan Dam, a critical energy resource for Swordland, has been experiencing a reduction in its energy output due to its age. The dam's aging infrastructure is proving less efficient, affecting its ability to maintain previous levels of energy generation. This decrease could impact the region's energy supply if not addressed properly. Plans for refurbishment or modernization of the dam could be proposed in the future if necessary. Ribery, with its rich historical sites, unique culture, and natural beauty, has untapped tourism potential. However, the city lacks the necessary infrastructure and promotional activities to become a fully fledged tourist destination. Local officials are actively seeking further support to develop Ribery's tourism sector. Any strategic plan for Ribery's development will require a focus on infrastructure and the promotion of its attractions. Boosting tourism could significantly enhance the city's economic and create numerous job opportunities. We have things happening off map. Right, those two are exclamation marks. Let's check out what's going on here. CSP and federations of Anraka sign historic non-aggression pact, a significant step forward in international diplomacy. The Contana Security Pact, the communists basically, an intergovernmental military and economic alliance of 9 countries led by United Cortana, has signed a 5-year non-aggression pact with the Federation of Anrakan Isles. This landmark agreement underlines the CSP's commitment to broadening its influence beyond its home continent of Contana while maintaining peaceful relations across the globe. The pact demonstrates the CSP's ongoing efforts to peacefully extend its influence across the Anrakan archipelago, marking an important turn in the complex geopolitical landscape as the CSP strengthens its global position to counteract the capitalist influence of the ATO. This agreement signals a commitment to strategic peaceful expansion that respects the sovereignty of nations that lie in the ocean between United Cortana and Arcadia. Alright. Republic of Kairut. Kairut expresses approval of Swordish democracy. The Republic of Kairut congratulated President Anton Rain on his recent election victory in Swordland. Chancellor Enos Adrumir of Kairut extolled Swordland's democratic process in the peaceful transition of power, emphasizing shared values. Kairut expressed positive outlook to continued diplomatic collaboration and mutual growth with Swordland. Kingdom of Rhesia. King Ramus Taurus of Rhesia has formally extended warm congratulations to President Anton Rain following his electoral success. In an official address, he praised Swordland's so-called democratic ethos and expressed a keen interest in fortifying bilateral ties under the Rain administration. The king anticipates a future of close cooperation and mutual respect between the two nations, regardless of the government's differences. right? And so that's what's happened off map. Okay, we have reports here. The SID joins the HSU fire investigation. Yeah, we were briefed about that. Party committee report. The Reform Committee reports that any political or any potential change to the Constitution in the direction of the reformists will likely result in strong opposition from the National Front Party. The members of the Assembly in support of such a direction seem to be in great number, and possibly make up a majority in the Grand National Assembly, while most members of the United Swordsland Party seem reluctant about supporting such change. Any reports here? No. Invest in mega infrastructure. A decision to invest in one of the two planned mega infrastructure projects. And the CFP bill has been passed by the GNA. Let's go to the infrastructure projects. Invest in mega infrastructure. The Ministry of Economy has put forward 2 bold plans for mega infrastructure projects that would help with the economic recession in long term. Investing in projects of this scale will take up some proportion of our budget, but could prove worthwhile if accomplished successfully. Well, I'd like to know the plans before I reject the plans. -1 government budget. I guess we're going to be doing it. Stat decreased governmental budget. Alright, and campaign finance bill. Electoral Campaign Finance Bill. Section 1 of this bill stipulates a significant change in the method of public funds allocated to political parties. The new measure replaces the previous system based on the number of votes won in the general election, with the system reliant on the proportion of seats secured by the political party in the Assembly. Section 2 sets the annual financial allocation to political parties at 500,000 Ren per each member of the Assembly. This shift ensures that financial support from public funds aligns more closely with the party's representative influence within the legislative body. Section 3. A consequential effect of these amendments will effectively lead to substantially increase in the election budget for the USP and minor augmentation for other parties present at the Assembly. This restructuring of funding fosters a more proportional representation of party presence within the Assembly. Section 4 highlights an important consequence of this reallocation. Parties that do not meet the 10% election threshold will see their public funding effectively curtailed. This measure will ensure that public resources are concentrated toward parties with a significant representation in the Assembly. Yeah, I totally don't like this idea. This is basically... And sadly, I'm the USP party. My party is in the majority. My party wants this to go through so that they can help, so that they can get more money, so that they can increase their stranglehold on power in the country. But this is not really democratic, right? This is fake democracy. This is where we're using democratic means, like pushing through legislation like this to be voted on, to then use that legislation to create a club that a particular political party can then use to keep its competition at bay. Not a fan. I'm vetoing this. It's vetoed. I'm sure that won't make my political party happy. They're probably like, what the hell? The president just went against us, his own party. Okay, discussion of the potential infrastructure project. Blue Mansion, Lagavulin. The view towards the Marchian Sea from Lagavulin was nothing short of exquisite. The seaside state, residence fitting name, the Blue Mansion was large, fine, and accommodating. But enjoying the luxurious mansion wasn't the main reason of our visit. We gathered the economic team here to discuss the new infrastructure investment project. Half an hour had already passed since the state started the meeting. Unfortunately, I did not even have the chance to have my usual afternoon coffee. Looking at the view from the window, I let my mind drift for a couple of seconds. Simon's voice brought me back into the ongoing discussion. Mr. President, we need to focus on boosting the economy as quickly as possible. One of the fastest ways to achieve this is through infrastructure projects. Agreed. On one hand, businessmen are complaining about the slow logistical rail network between Holsword and Lagavulin. Lilia started talking as soon as Simon took a breath. On the other hand, citizens are criticizing the lack of proper highway connections between Lagavulin and Arvory. The narrow roads by the seaside are not only dangerous, but also difficult to traverse. You know, better highway connections between Lagavulin and Avery, that would help the economy, and it would help the people. But I'm afraid that Simon's right. We're in the middle of a recession, and we probably want to get the most bang for our buck. I mean, if we can make more money, we can come back to do this project later on. We're going to focus on economic growth, which is obviously connecting our two most economically powerful cities. I don't know as if that's so obvious, actually. It's not business people who are suffering now, but ordinary folk. What really matters is that your first economics act accomplishes something tangible. We must prove our capabilities. The people must know that this administration can get things done. We must improve the economy of the nation and bring it out of recession. Well, typically both would be good. We must prove our capabilities. The people must know that this administration can get things done. To that point, I defined two important projects for your attention. The H3 Highway Project and the L1 High-Speed Railway Project. Mr. Hall repositioned himself in the chair. The ministry can only support one project at a time. With our current capacity and budget, Let's move on to the details of each. So which one do you want to hear about? I want to hear about the H3 highway project. The H3 project aims to improve the abysmal state of the road network in the Anglian region bordering Agnolia. The area is home to several million Agno, Sordish, and Sordish citizens who currently feel neglected. There are no proper highway connections to and from Agnum, and the mayor of Avery, Eric Neal, has been asking for a bigger budget to develop the regional infrastructure. He told us that even trucks are having a hard time traveling through the main roads. The increased traffic is causing troubles for people commuting in and out of the region. I agree, this could also hurt the local businesses. It is, bless their souls. I'm happy we're thinking alike on the matter. Let's talk a more detailed look at the upgrade proposal. Lilius was pointing at Lakaban. The H3 highway route starts here in Lakaban. Am I supposed to click on this? Oh, okay. And from there it leads to Linkurg, okay. And then it goes all the way to Avery, okay. As a result, the road network towards the Angolian capital, Stalport, will also improve substantially. Right there. She paused and leaned forward in her chair. As mayor, I saw the central government continuously neglect our country's Angolian Sordish dominant regions. Is this administration going to continue that kind of negligence? Well, it might help the trade with Angolia as well. Our Anglo-Sordish citizens should be respected as swords like all of us. It makes little sense to put investment in such a... We should no longer neglect a key region for our trade with Angolia. Sure, but most goods flow to Lakavan and Holsgord, which means we should give more importance to logistics there. It has to be pointed out that the highway would be less beneficial in the short term. I have to disagree. It will increase the speed of transportation throughout the region. Our citizens will be quite pleased if we successfully accomplish this. Besides, if we enter trade talks with Angolia, they will see the investment as a positive sign. Very interesting, but I still want to hear about the railway project. Your predecessor, Alfonso, failed to deliver on this campaign promise, but now we have the opportunity to start the construction of a groundbreaking railway project. As you know, our current trains cannot meet the standards of today. As many other countries adopt new electric engine technology to power up their trains, we're falling behind. News about the new electrical trains in United Katana has piqued our business interest. They too want to transport resources and materials from Holsword to Lakavan with great speed and efficiency. I'm not fully convinced yet. Please explain further. Our plan is to upgrade the OL1 line from Holsword to Lakavan. It will transform into a high-speed railway. Gus was pointing at Holsword, while Simon was looking attentively. Capital. And Lakavan is over there. So this railway here. The planned construction starts right here at the capital. From there it will go to Enrica first, then to Gelsord, after which it will reach Lakavan, our economic powerhouse, which is the major shipping lane. The L1 will significantly boost the economies of the newly linked cities and even the rural areas in between Lockman. It's our primary port, so the goods unload there and will be transported to Hold Sword much faster. It does make sense, but investing in regions that are already developed makes little sense. I completely agree. Our attention must be diverted to the needy. The H3 is a much more logical plan. I hate the fact I'm agreeing with her. The mayor of Enrica, Curtin Lassat, also requested that this project be prioritized. Businessmen in the region will be very content, which in turn will increase investment and employment. Therefore, I will recommend the L1 high-speed. Businessmen in the region will be very content, which in turn will increase investment and employment. Therefore, I will recommend the L1 high-speed rail project. I have settled on a decision. I've decided on the H3 highway project to improve the infrastructure in our poorer regions. The negotiations will begin in the middle of this year. You will be able to award the contract to a corporation of your choice. The ministry estimates that construction will be completed in 2 years if every step going forward is executed successfully. Thank you for all your contributions and thoughts. Have a good day. Have a nice day, Mr. President. Evening settled on the beautiful coastline of Lockhaven. Assignment started Lockhaven. The highway project. An opportunity to buy stocks from an Arcasian company. Invest in Arcasian company stocks. A personal investment opportunity has been relayed by Mr. Manger, an experienced stockbroker in Ventry City, Arcasia, as selling valuable shares of Armadine Industries, an up-and-coming electronic manufacturing company. We could invest or let the opportunity pass. I could buy 1,000 shares using my own personal wealth. No, we're currently in office. We shouldn't be investing in stocks. Could end up being a conflict of interest somehow in the future, even if it's not inside of our own country. Alright, what's this? Reception at the inaugural ball. Residence of the President of Swordland Halls. I had just finished buttoning up my suit jacket when the doorbell rang. The Presidential Guard had arrived to pick us up for the inaugural ball. The ball was a 3-decade-old tradition, breathlessly anticipated by politicians, bureaucrats, and press. All eyes were about to be on me. I called on Monica to get the children ready. Looking in the mirror, I straightened my tie and took a deep breath. After tonight, there would be no turning back. Suddenly, Deanna hugged me from behind, startling me a little. Monica had fixed her hair into an elaborate braid, woven through with ribbons. Papa, Mama told me it's time to go. Hello, darling. I'm ready. Where's your brother? I think Frank is still upstairs. She shrugged. It was almost time to leave. The big ball was starting in less than an hour. Now, where's my first lady? Monica came down the stairs. She was wearing a simple yet elegant beige sheath dress and short heels. Her hair had been neatly pinned into a chignon, showing off her pearl earrings I had given her for her 15th anniversary. All those years she had stayed by my side. Now we were about to begin the most challenging chapter in our lives yet. How do you do, Mr. President? Kiss her hand. She extended a gloved hand, and I raised it to my lips. Monica, my love, you look as gorgeous as the day we married. Now, there's the charm that got you elected. Frank trudged down the stairs. This thing itches. Frank tugged at the collar of his new tuxedo. He seemed ill at ease. I'm glad to have you with us for this big night. Sure, Dad. I'm just dying to go. Papa, are these people going to be around us from now on? She pointed at the presidential guards at the door of the house. Yes, Swordland's most important family needs extra protection. It's all right, baby. They're here to make sure nothing bad happens to your papa or his family. Monica held Deanna's hand. Together, flanked by the guards, we walked out the door. Halfway to the car, Frank stopped abruptly and turned towards me. Dad, do I really have to go? Couldn't I stay home instead? I'm nervous myself, Frank, but I'd feel a lot more confident with my son by my side. Frank smiled reluctantly. Well, when you put it like that, sure, let's go. Presidential guard showed us the way. As red and blue lights flashed around us, Sergei, my driver, ushered us into our armored limousine. The motorcade started moving towards the palace. I gazed out the window deep in thought. Anton, what are you thinking about? I was thinking that we've come a long way together, haven't we? Yes, we have, and there's still so much that we'll accomplish side by side. Just remember, no matter what happens, the children and I will always be here for you. I'm going to help Papa fix everything. Frank rolled his eyes. I know you will, honey. This means a great deal to me. After what seemed like just a few minutes, the convoy slowed to a halt. Sergei rolled down the limousine's soundproof partition. We're here, sir. Hope you enjoy the drive. Much appreciated. How are you today? Sergei. I'm just as good as I can be, but today is your day, sir. I'm glad you're in charge now. You know, my entire family voted for you. Thank you and your family. I'm here with all of your support. No reason to thank me, sir. You're the one who sparked a glimmer of hope in us all. Sergei opened the door for me. The normally imposing palace was festooned with garish banners that nearly made it look cheerful. A line of shiny luxury sedans stretched around it. Politicians, bureaucrats, and celebrities, the creme de la creme of Swordland's elite, streamed inside the building. Sergei Welkner, good luck out there, Mr. President. I'll see you on the trip home. I stepped out and immediately found myself surrounded by loud voices and cameras flashing. Hordes of eager journalists thrust their portable microphones my way. My guards fended most of them off, but one woman managed to dodge them and corner me. I recognized the Swordish Broadcasting Company logo on her press lanyard. Mr. President, Mr. President, do you plan on working together with the opposition party on the expected constitutional reforms? We are going to work with everybody. Mr. Richter clarified that as long as you hold your promises of democratizing, they will support you on these issues to the end. What do you think about this statement? I'm thinking I'm having a hard time reading. I welcome it. This is a challenge for us all. We want the other parties to join him in this endeavor. Honestly, I don't expect much from him. I can't comment since I haven't seen his statement yet. I welcome it. This challenge is for us all. One more question. One of your first acts as president was to veto a campaign finance law that would have deprived small parties of public funds while increasing those channeled to your own. Are we seeing the beginning of a more egalitarian administration? Absolutely. Whether the bill is proposed by my own party or not, I would use my veto on it if it goes against the interest of our democracy. That's enough, ma'am, said one of the guards while nudging the reporter away from me. A path through the crowd was now open, and we quickly made our way to the entrance of the palace. At the same time, a dozen fireworks went off. The entrance was decorated with beautiful ribbons in Swordland colors of white, yellow, and maroon. A lush maroon carpet had been rolled down the stairs. We entered the lobby and joined the throngs of people making their way towards the ballroom. Navigating the sea of guests, I found myself face to face with a towering figure. Remus Holstrom, the Iron Wall, former young sword and stalwart of the National Front Party. He leveled a steely gaze at me, then broke into a smile. President Rain, you have no idea how happy it makes me to see a fellow young sword in the Maroon Palace. We've come a long way from our young sword days, haven't we, Mr. Holstrom? We sure have, but I still remember them like they were yesterday. My time in the Young Swords taught me a lot about the true spirit of this nation. You too, I bet. Think of Swordland like a piece of iron forged in fire, strengthened by the flame of dedication and the hammer of the order. Nicely put, Mr. Holstrom. Our shared past and values will help us forging a strong Swordland. I hope so. That weakling Alfonso knew nothing about the true nature of leadership. I heard about your promise to tighten Swordland's immigration laws, by the way. I'm glad you are as concerned about preserving our nation's identity as I am. Yes, our immigration is sorely in need of regulation, but we must remember our values of unity and compassion. Either way, it looks like both of us have a busy term ahead of us. I've got a series of bills I'm working on to address the friction in our society. But tonight's a celebration, right? Time to show all the establishment politicians in the palace how a real patriot lets loose. Yes, let's put politics. Let's put aside politics for tonight and enjoy the evening. We'll speak soon, and remember, never lose sight of the iron cause. As Remus Holstrom disappeared back into the crowd, his parting words resonated. A mirror to the nationalism still stirred within the Swordland. He offered a potent reminder of the complexities and divisions that we would need to navigate in the days to come. Behind me, I heard a familiar voice. There they are, the most beautiful family in Swordland. Uncle Peter! Hey, Uncle Peter, it's great to see you. You two are growing faster than I am. You two are growing faster than I am getting wiser. Are you sure you've gotten any wiser, Peter? Maybe not. After all, I'm still sticking with you. Happy to see a familiar face, Peter. Evelyn? Peter's wife Evelyn approached us and shook our hand with a firmness that belied her delicate features. Congratulations, Anton. I have to say the results were clear to me from the beginning. There's a woman behind every successful man. What a gentleman. Monica smiled at me. Monica, how are you? You've barely said a word. I'm more than relieved to have this roller coaster ride over with, but of course, now the real work begins. Ah, yes, managing the help. Planning parties, daily trips to the salon, to look your best for foreign dignitaries. Don't be so old-fashioned, Evelyn. I plan to use my power as First Lady to advance the position of women throughout Swordland. Equal rights for our sex are long overdue, wouldn't you say, Anton? That's my wife, never content to be just a pretty face. Monica flashed me a smile. Suddenly jumped in between us and tugged on my sleeve. Papa, can we go? I want to see the ballroom. Of course, darling. Move to the ballroom. We left the lobby and made our way towards the ballroom. Inside, we were yet again surrounded by a noisy crowd, but this time it was the politicians who sought to appease the new authority in Swordland. I spent the next few hours shaking hands, joining various conversations, some serious, some superficial, and making speeches. We finally settled down at our dinner table, with the Vecturns, as the band started playing some slow jazz tunes. Oof, that was tiring. What, you're already tired? Well, suddenly a loud banging noise echoed from outside the ballroom, then another one, and another. The musicians stopped playing. Everyone in the room was looking around in confusion. Peter and I turned towards each other, realization dawning on both of our faces. Fireworks? No, gunshots. As soon as Monica heard the words, she lunged from her seat. Shield Monica and the kids. I threw myself on Monica, Deanna, and Frank to shield them. Papa, what's happening? I knew it. We never should have gone. Chaos broke out as some guests flung themselves under their tables, and others ran towards the doors, screaming. Deanna burst into tears while Frank tried to comfort her, hiding the fear in his own eyes. 3 more gunshots rang out loudly. Carl Greaser. Mr. President, are you all right? Carl Greaser, head of the Shortish police force, was running towards us with 3 more police officers in decorated uniforms. They all had their guns drawn. As soon as he made it to us and saw that we were unharmed, he let out a big sigh of relief. Thank God. Status report. 1 second, Mr. President. He turned around quickly to his men. Check the perimeter now. Paul Jansen, follow my lead. We will bring them to the safe room. He now turned towards Monica, Evelyn, and the children and spoke in a softer voice. Do not worry, the situation is now under control. Please follow me. We promptly followed Carl through the winding halls and corridors of the palace. His men still had their guns drawn, which did nothing to ease the tension. On the way, Peter made an attempt to break the silence. What a fucking night. You could say that again. Carl turned to us with a serious face as we were about to round a corner. Quiet, please. Sorry, I talk when I get nervous. Peter, shut up. Carl flipped a switch on the wall and the panel opened, revealing a hidden staircase leading to a large reinforced door. Inside, a set of emergency lights flicked on. The safe room was comfortable and spacious, with expensive-looking leather sofas. Small security monitors on the wall displayed a grainy footage of each room in the palace. There was a boardroom and a pantry containing enough provisions to last us months. Monica and Evelyn sat the children down and started wiping their tears. Carl stepped away from us and made a few radio calls. When he was done, he returned to me and Peter. So, what's the status? Carl's radio suddenly crackled to life. Every second felt like eternity as he pressed his ears to the receiver. When it fell silent, he turned to us. Good news. We are not in any danger at the moment. The situation has been dealt with and the perimeter has been secured by the guards and the police. He glanced towards Monica, Evelyn, and the kids. If I may, sir. He gestured towards a more private corner of the room and started speaking more quietly. This is what we know so far. We have confirmed that 2 people were gunned down in front of the palace. The attacker is one of them, and we have reasons to believe he was working alone. He fired 3 shots at an MP, 1 to the head and 2 to the body, instantly killing him. Presidential guards at the palace immediately shot and killed the attacker. He had not been identified yet and will require an investigation. The MP that was killed was identified as Bernard Serkis. A Swedish poetess, novelist, short story writer. His early writings were heavily influenced by the social, culture, and economic problems of his home city of Dyer. He joined the Red Youth during the Swedish Civil War. He fled Swordland after the war was over, surviving the purge of Tarquin's soul. He moved to the United Cortana. Okay, so a communist. This is huge, Anton. This will cause a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Peter pulled out 2 cigarettes and handed me one. He then turned to Evelyn. I could hear him trying to reassure her that everything was going to be all right. Monica was still trying to tend to Deanna and Frank and pace the room, mumbling that he should have stayed at home. Comfort Monica and the kids. I sat down beside my wife and children. We are safe. I'll make sure everything's going to be fine. We can't be sure of anything anymore, Anton. I lit my cigarette and took a deep drag. I was going to see this through and keep my family safe. At all costs. I crushed the cigarette on the ashtray. Connections. What is this? Okay. And fluctuating energy prices. Swordsland is currently grappling with fluctuating energy prices. A development caused uncertainty at the domestic market. This unpredictability may lead to significant repercussions for Swordsland's economy and can influence both domestic policy and internal trade. Okay. Manson, spokesman of the Independents. What else does it want me to click on here? There's something in this that... Okay, read the report. Security increased. Security measures at the Capitol have been heightened after the murder of Bernard Circus. The mayor of Holsword reports that everything is under control. Security around the Marin Palace has been increased with the combined effort of the Holsword Police Department and the Presidential Guard. Additionally, the entrance procedures to the palace are being revised with advice from security professionals. The police chief, Carl Griesner, reported that an investigation has been launched on the murder of Bernard Circus. Emergency meeting, the Situation Room. Is there anything else to click on before I do this? Doesn't look like it. The mood in the Situation Room was gloomy. My cabinet members were gathered to discuss the shooting outside the palace. Lilius presented the initial report. Bernard Circus was shot dead at 9:03 p.m. in front of the palace gates. He was an elected independent member of the assembly and, as you know, a famous communist. She spat the last words out with some distaste. And she's basically a communist as well. The guards at the scene were 50 meters away and immediately took actions by responding and killing the assailant, who was identified as a member of the National Organization of Young Swords. The president and his family were unharmed, praise God. What were the motives of such a horrible act? Our investigators are suspecting a political assassination since the Young Swords have been threatening the communists for some time. This may well create a dangerous atmosphere where the left versus right political violence of the 1920s could spark again. A return to those days would be devastating. The coups are the reason why our country stagnated for decades. The Minister of Justice sighed. The Red Youth has condemned the killing, but didn't stop there. They promised revenge. This will in turn spark further aggression from the young swords. The whole cycle started because Bernard Circus expressed his views. We can't simply look away. Nia had always been one of the only members of the Justice Ministry truly deserving of the name. She had survived countless attacks on her character while fighting corruption within the ministry, and rising to power had only compounded her sense of moral duty. Freedom of expression is part of our Constitution. We can't have anyone, let alone an MP, shot for voicing different opinions. I agree. We should protect freedom of speech. Our laws do, and for good reason. Silence voices only results in fear and stagnation inside society. We had that before and know very well how it was. I hear your concerns. Our police do their best to uphold the rights of our citizens. We will prevent such an act from happening again by making sure our security measures are reevaluated. Minister of Defense, this guy here, Iosif Lancia, grunted in approval. He towered over the rest of us in full military uniform, his many war medals conspicuously on display. Agreed, ma'am. Our Gendarmerie will also help boost security in the rural areas where possible. There might be more violence to come. We should refrain from making the issue a political one from the start. It will only add fuel to the fire. It is political now, isn't it? Yes, but we need to calm the country. If we take sides, we could escalate the situation further. There aren't many sides. The state versus its enemies. Several police cars rushed past the Maroon Palace and everyone went silent. Regardless, a full investigation into all involved parties is underway. We will find the subversives and punish them soon enough, Mr. President. I'll do my best to help coordinate the administrative tasks. Justice will be served and the rule of law will return to this country stronger than ever. Only if we stay vigilant as a country. We must think about the upcoming budget. It's too soon to jump to conclusions. Reckless acts will have dire consequences. Agreed. We need to be patient until we have the full picture. Lucien took some notes after checking the latest newspaper and reports. It seems that the tensions between the communists and nationalists will escalate further. It will be very difficult to pass any meaningful change if there is chaos in the country. We can't fix the recession if there isn't stability. You are right. We need to trust our ministers to stabilize the situation if it comes to it. This will be it for today then. We will convene again soon. Thank you all and keep us updated. The meeting concluded and the ministers left the room with concerned looks. It was hard to anticipate what would happen next. Alright. So we're at a point that says continue. So this is probably a good place. Well, we've got some news. President vetoes bill. Is there anything cool in the news? MP shot. Rain welcomes Richter's words. Conrath Karanti passed away. Suspicious fire ravages HSU. Murder at the palace. Gazam hires freeze amid economic strains. one of the nation's largest corporations, has announced a freeze on new hires. Unfair campaign finance bills crushed. A new bill that further expand on the unfairness of our election system has been approved by the Grand National Assembly and was later vetoed by President Rain. Rain deserves credit for crushing the undemocratic proposal, even though it came from his own party and would have benefited himself. The bill sought to change the rules of eligibility of the public funds that are reserved for every political party in Sordland. It eliminates every party from the eligibility to funds apart from the 3 that are currently in Assembly. The insane proposal would have resulted in the governing United Sordland Party's share from the funds to double. Luckily, President Rain showed us that he can go against his own party when it needs to be done. Geopolitical. Ideological dispute between Galmland and Valgsland intensifies under leadership of Brig Helsvadard, daughter. Sordland Regional Trade. Okay, what is this? Under leadership of Galmland's second female leader, Brigade Halvor's daughter, the ideological dispute between Galmland and Valgsland has intensified. Halvor's daughter government has been actively promoting the development and implementation of the Galmish Manifesto, a unique interpretation of Carlos Marcia's communist theory. The country has been pushing the agenda to other CSP countries, garnering support and building alliances in an effort to strengthen their position in the region. However, international factions backed by Vloglansian socialism and United Cortania pose a significant challenge to Halvor's daughter government. These factions are working to undermine the Galmish Manifesto and weaken Galmland's influence among its allies. As tensions increase, both nations find themselves locked in fierce ideological battle with potential significant consequences for the regional stability and operation. Wait a second, what? Actively promoting and development and implementation of the Galmish Manifesto, a unique interpretation of Carlos Marcia's communist. Okay, so this is inter-communism squabbling. This is basically like when, I'm having a hard time thinking of his name. There was another notable communist figure at the, when, was it Lenin or Stalin? When Stalin was in power, that caused some opposition. Anyway, this sounds similar, like it's this in-games version of that. Alright, so that's the news. And now it's probably time to wrap up this episode. Anyway, hopefully you guys are enjoying this playthrough of Suzerain. I'm Jim Johnson. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. If so, please smash that like button and consider subscribing. And until the next time, all, peace.